Good evening and welcome back to my Dwarven Fortress of Keskalokil, where in the last session we discovered that ghosts can open floor hatches even when the floor hatches are controlled by machinery. And doors, actually. It opened a door as well, but the behaviour of the door was slightly different.
Also, this screen does look slightly like a weird chest x-ray.
Yes. It's actually two separate kaolinite clusters, or former kaolinite clusters, which I have long since... Well, I've completely mined out this one. I've mined out most of this one.
And put some water in it.
Well, that wasn't intentional. Actually, that was slightly intentional in that I deliberately, quite some time ago, wanted to flood it in order to get some mud down here in order to grow... things, rock nuts down here in order to make soap. But that there is water in there currently, especially in this kind of quantity, is largely down to our pestiferous ghost who repeatedly haunted the same floor hatch that lets the sea into the fortress. Now you might be asking, why, Ben, do you have a floor hatch that lets the sea into the fortress? And yes, I am asking the same question and what to fix it, really. I mean, I roughly know why, which is that I thought it might be a good way to get the water out of the sea. And technically, it's an extremely efficient way to get the water out of the sea. It doesn't get anything else out of the sea, though, which was the other thing I wanted to do.
That does now mean that in the middle of your mostly mined kaolinite cluster, there's an unexpected soggy bit.
Yes. But I think I actually have a sensible way to fix this without... So... Originally, we thought that maybe someone had pulled the lever that would open this floor hatch, but I was resistant to removing that lever in case it turned out that wasn't the problem. And that was very good, because if we had, I would have been in substantially more trouble. Because actually the problem was that the ghost could open the floor hatch, and I needed the lever in order to close it again. What I think I should do is to arrange that, like with the with this door, which the ghost did open, but which actually closed itself automatically, we should arrange that it's harmless to open that floor hatch by sealing off where the floor hatch leads to for now, and then if we ever need to get it back into service again, we can unseal it. And that seems a lot more sensible than actually removing the floor hatch. So, yes, I think that's what I should do about that. Also, I should get better drainage down here, because it's taken quite a long time for all the water to get out of here, because it all has to go through this single floor grate over here. So I think we should stick a bunch more drains around here. And that does have a slight danger that we might... get a visit from a forgotten beast if we get it wrong. So I should probably station some soldiers down here while we're doing the digging, in order to prevent the in order to deal with the forgotten beast if it comes in. But I don't think it's actually going to be a serious problem. This is just an exploded pile of stuff we found inside the butcher's shop, isn't it? Because I dismantled the butcher's shop on the grounds I didn't need it anymore. One thing it was doing was holding all of this stuff together. Like, I think we do have a vast surplus of fat, which is kind of weird. Yes, let us allow the time to pass and the sea to finish filling up again. And let's do some work on making things less dangerous. Is it okay for me to just remove that floor grate? It probably is. Yes, I suppose it is. Yes.
Other things of that ilk.
So we'll remove the old floor hatch and then install a floor in its place, and then probably replace this door with a wall, and then there will be a solid boundary between the sea and the fortress, but without having disabled the ability to let the sea in on its own side of that boundary at least. So that we could, if we wanted to, reinstate the ability to drain the sea into the bottom of the fortress if we felt that was a good plan. Because, like, on the good side, I think we drowned like 2 kittens and 0 dwarves in the process of this. Which is a lot better than previous times the sea's got in. We have, like, got an awful lot of damp corridors now.
And presumably bits of kitten that need to be, picked up and disposed of in a suitable manner before someone sees a drowned kitten and is deeply traumatised.
I think most of my dwarves are tough enough that drowned kittens are no longer traumatising. Mostly because they've seen so many dead goblins. Partly because we use them for decoration.
From this is trauma to, haha, I trample on the bones of my enemies. Kind of.
Possibly, yes. I mean, they might still be upset by seeing their own kitten drowned. So let's also... How are we off for, like, stupidly large numbers of jobs that need doing? Are there? Things are... Well, okay, there are still a lot of items that need to be... There are an awful lot of patients that need diagnosing. What? Why are there, like, 10 diagnosed patient tasks pending? I didn't think we had 10 beds in the hospital. What's going on there? So... Like, we expect to have plenty of store item jobs still. We only have 4 people trying to rest in the hospital. But we appear to have 9 diagnosed patient jobs, none of which is actually being done by anyone. That's a bit weird. Let's just investigate the hospital. Have we, like, lost all our doctors or something? We do appear to only have 1 diagnostician assigned. Let's assign a few more.
Have gone off to do something else.
Right, I've assigned a few more diagnosticians to the hospital, which might help. At least one person's diagnosing patients now. I mean, they're a legendary diagnostician. It shouldn't take them very long to do all the patients.
Is a legendary diagnostician fast or accurate or both?
I think every dwarf is able to accurately diagnose at least typical injuries, if not like illnesses. So I think they're mostly fast. I think unlike crafts dwarfs, they don't really... I don't think there's much quality in diagnosis, but I could be wrong. That is boring. Lots of people are being interrupted by agitated peregrine falcons, but that's fine. That looks like a kitten skeleton. Let's schedule that for dumping at least. Probably blind cave ogres should be treated as things to be not to be... We can't butcher them, and so we should stick them in the sentient creatures' corpses stockpile. That was a pet rabbit, so it will probably have to be disposed of as well. Oh, we've successfully felled more of the trees outside the walls. What are you doing? Are you... Oh, you're reloading that weapon trap with something, who knows what. Iron bolts, apparently. It's not that hard. Surely. I suppose maybe you don't actually have any skills in this. Yes, okay. You don't appear to have many skills in... You've loaded one iron bolt into that weapon trap. I hope one is the correct number that it needs. And you're not going to come back later with another one. Okay, all of our diagnosis jobs appear to have cleared off at least. There's some corresponding fix. Well, two of the dwarves appear to have stopped resting. That's probably good. Yes, you are in a fairly bad way. Similarly, you... But we've got the best surgeons in the world here. I'm sure it'll be fine. Obviously, we need more legendary pedestals for putting goblin skulls on. Artifact pedestals, rather. I wonder if there's something useful we can do with all these bones. Like, I mean, we can make trinkets out of them. You mostly can't make furniture out of bones, so we can't, like, install them anywhere. We do have an awful lot of bones. These weapon traps are taking quite a lot of reloading. Oh dear, someone's met another giant hamster, it looks like. They've met one of our ganders. Kind of assume that the gander will not win against a giant hamster, but... Yes. Oh dear, the giant hamster is actually inside the fortress. Well, we should probably do something about that then. Can we remember what everyone's schedule is? No, we should just pick a squad and tell them to deal with the giant hamster, please. Yep. because the giant hamster is like making mincemeat of several of our dogs and of Goose.
Oh, the revenge of the giant hamster. No, wait. For all its little brethren.
Right, a convenient pile of dwarves appear to be on their way, though it may require a fairly complicated route. Up to the dining room and across the dining room. Oh, I think the giant hamster has been killed. Yes. I think the giant hamster was killed by by one of our dogs, which is quite impressive. The giant hamster was called Yilla Feppa before it died.
That's nice.
Yes, the stray dog managed to it took a lot of killing, mind. When did the giant hamster last do anything? All right, yes, so the giant hamster spent quite a while unconscious through pain, which in turn all right, the giant hamster first passed out from exhaustion, because this is a problem with reasonably mundane animals, is that it does actually tire them to kill all of our livestock. And so eventually they just go, oh, it's too much, I can't fight anymore. At which point the fact that we have several spare dogs means that then they start getting vigorously beaten up because they're unconscious. So yes, even though it's a giant hamster, the dog did eventually, after a lot of work, manage to kill it. Giant hamsters are not even very big, 250 kilos.
It's still quite giant for a hamster, though.
Yes, yes.
Compared to the giant blue jays and stuff, it is a bit of a lightweight, but
Yes, I mean, given that a typical dog is 20 kilos, the fact that a dog managed to kill it is quite impressive.
I mean, is it a sort of vicious attack dog? Or?
It's a perfectly ordinary dog. Mostly it was a very tired giant hamster because it had been busy killing. It had already killed a dog and a gander and come pretty close to killing a second dog. I don't know whether this one will survive.
What happens to injured pet type animals?
They either heal or they don't. Veterinary surgery is not something that dwarves have invented yet.
Despite the fact that you have a whole fortress full of dwarven medics.
Yes, yes. I'm afraid we could do medicine on friendly sentient creatures, and we can do butchery on animals, though not on pet animals. So since I think
Also, butchery you usually do after death.
yes, yes. But killing the animal is like part of the process in many cases. As in, if you ask to slaughter a tame animal, they also get butchered at the same time. Indeed, I think the butchery is pretty much instantaneous then, rather than taking an amount of time that depends on the skill of the butcher. Anyway, that gander corpse can be thrown out. Oh, there should be a dog corpse around here somewhere, but I appear to have lost it. Oh, it's under there, yes. Is it? No. It's under there. Well, part of the dog is. Right. That will get rid of those. Right, so we've now removed that floor hatch from there. So let us instead install, well, not floor hatch, floor grate. Let us install some perfectly ordinary floor instead. And then we'll remove that door and replace it with a wall, which will be slightly exciting if someone manages to let the sea in while the door's missing. Excuse me. Right. And yes, there are dwarves hauling things and butchering things and generally making progress with things. Though we do have far too many dead animals around. I mean, possibly we're just going to need to get some magma at some point to make rubbish disposal simpler. I mean, I suppose, or a dragon. That could also be used for rubbish disposal. Cave dragons, sadly, well, not very sadly, because it was what allowed us to survive the last cave dragon, don't, as far as I know, breathe fire. Right, so the water in here is fairly shallow now. We found a kiwi. Can't help feeling that kiwis are not, yes, going to do very well against my dwarves, however agitated they are. So let us ask the salty inks to come down here. And then we'll why have the salty inks arrived? Oh, right, I suspect they've been off fighting giant thripses. And so they've come in through a waterfall and that's washed all the giant thrips ichor off them. I mean, I think that's kind of helpful. Except that it's now flooding our farm with giant thrips ichor. Well, giant thrips or ichor filled water. Right, so now we've got a number of soldiers in here. So now, slightly worried actually that the water may not be shallow enough to safely open holes in the floor that won't cause dwarves to fall through them. I mean, it is a long enough fall that it'll be fatal, so like, to an extent it won't matter. Actually, we could just go vertically downwards. It would be a rather long way vertically downwards, and we might fill things with water in the process though, so maybe we do what I was originally planning and go down and then sideways and do that in several places. So the idea, actually what we should do, can I make a stockpile here? So let's have a small stockpile about that big, which just contains okay. They're probably furniture, aren't they? Floor grates or grates. Yes. Just contains grates. So that when we come to, so that we can install the grates reasonably quickly. Why are this flowing south? Oh, there's a staircase there, isn't there? Which then lets water down to there. Right, yes, that's why it's flowing south. That's probably good because I can see that the dwarves aren't being swept down there. So I should probably wait for that. Well, no one's doing the digging at the moment anyway, it looks like, so. I think that's a reasonable set of, well, let's do one more up here. Places to make holes. Now we need to find someone whose job it is to make holes in things. How is the hospital looking? That's all right. Wonder when someone's going to come and actually do this digging. Isn't looking like anyone's involved in this at the moment. Dear, we've got giant flies again. Those are actually scary. Are you sure that giant flies have ligaments and tendons? Because I'm not.
You probably have something equivalent, but
Yes.
directly thingy, direct correspondence.
I'm very sleepy for ligaments, so yes, that's things like FIL, FFIL.
Not quite.
Fine, you've done a terrible job of your pictures again.
Oh, I think I probably need to say that this stockpile should take from stockpile number 1, shouldn't I? Or no one's actually going to move anything to it. Not that it appears anyone wants to do any digging either, so... Yeah. Right. Yes, that's better. One, two, three, four, five, six. Right, yes, I've even asked for the same number of grates down here as the number of holes I've asked to dig. Is this a miner? No, I don't think it is, because the mining jobs still aren't flashing. So you're probably coming down here to do some kind of farming thing. Ah, yes. Or coming down here to collect some rock nuts. in order to squish them. And that's a cat. That's not going to help with the digging. Right, have we accidentally run out of miners or something? No, there are like 4 people set up as miners at the moment, which seems like a reasonable number. Just they're all apparently busy. I can check actually, can't I? But none of them are currently in the military. They will apparently not do anything other than mining or doctoring. But that's fine. 2 of them are still allocated to mining. But apparently this isn't quite enough. Let's do some dumping of bits of goblins. At least the entire skeletons, because those definitely don't have a use. And Moneras. Any sign of anyone doing any digging yet? No. We are getting the grates delivered. Great. But still no one actually wanting to help with the making holes in the floor job. Which is a slight nuisance. Don't think there's any reason why that should be difficult. Let's find each of our digging dwarves and work out why they're not helping. So we have Kol Shemezum, who is currently urgently watching a surgery demonstration.
But that is fairly urgent. If he goes off and does something else and comes back, it'll be finished.
Who's next? We have Medtob Degotashem, who is also watching a surgery demonstration. We have Ast Tholatel, or something like that. Tholathel, who is leading the surgery demonstration. And we have Mistem Emenzephon, who is actually not watching a surgery demonstration and is picking up their equipment. What equipment they're picking up, we're not told. They seem to be quite well dressed already. And now they're storing an item, so we might get to find out what it was they just took off. No. So it does feel pleasure having put on an exceptional item, so that's nice.
This book has been OCR and occasionally there are. Yes, the famous Church of Scotland. Definitely Scotland. They definitely mean Scotland. We're in Edinburgh. So.
All right, you are picking up a sock and putting it away. Right, now how about you come and do some digging? Yes! Excellent. So once you've dug that hole, actually we can mark the next hole I want you to dig, can't we? Let's mark the next holes in each case. So what we want to do is to go down there and then through that wall. And conveniently, that won't be made any none of the things that you're digging through will be surprisingly damp. Okay, that one doesn't actually need any special treatment. Let's cancel that. Oops. I just want to watch you. Right, dwarf not swept to their death. Excellent. I'm slightly concerned we only appear to have 5 great floor grates here. We definitely have more than 5 grates in general, so maybe someone will turn up with another one in a moment. Watch them dig another hole. No, don't get swept out. Good. Where have they gone? Oh, we've just seen a new section of the caverns, and thus nominally struck a phenomenal amount of stuff. So who was that we were watching? Mr. MN Zephon. Oh dear. That's a plummeting miner.
Is there a grate not in place or something?
Well, not yet, because the miner was making the hole the grate had to be put on top of. Like, the miner seems to have then slipped on the water that was falling through there and is now going to go splat at the bottom because, well, you can't fall 50 odd Z levels and survive, sadly.
And the plus side is going to be in the
She
caverns, and she will be in the caverns and no one will find her corpse.
yes, so we're going to need to put in a well, we might be able to see that far down. We're going to need to install a memorial. We'll also probably want to train up another miner. Let's aside. Unfortunately, we have like 3 miners who are really good, 4 dwarves who are really good at mining, and no one else who has the faintest idea about mining. So yes, what's slightly alarming is the way that we have here Mr. Memenzefon's mutilated corpse and right upper arm and left upper arm and a pile of clothes. But then we also appear to have Rigoth Idokiton's mutilated corpse. Did someone else get swept down here at the same time? That would be particularly unfortunate. Yes, Rigoth Idokiton was trying to install the grate and fell down the hole instead. And indeed there is now a masterwork church grate deep in the caverns. So far, people killed by the recent flooding, 0. People killed by the attempts at fixing things for the from the recent flooding, 2. Yeah, we don't really have technology for that. So that one I should probably cancel construction because the grate is nowhere to be seen. Right, let's see if you can install the grate without falling through it. Right. One of them is installed. Part of the problem is, of course, that when transporting the grates to the correct hole, they will walk past all the other holes, which is an excellent way to end up falling through them. Right, 2 grates properly installed. That one's still waiting for construction. Those 2 still need some digging to be done. Three grates safely installed. Right, anyway, let's give someone else the job of mining. I have no idea who it should be. It should be someone who probably doesn't have any other tasks. Let's say you. Right, someone is now working on installing the last of the grates that we actually have holes for. Actually, a thing I should probably do just for safety is to make sure that all of those corpses and bits thereof are forbidden, so that we don't accidentally find that someone goes down there and tries to fetch them. There we go. Because it would be a bit of a problem if someone went, oh, there's a way into the caverns, I shall rush down there and retrieve this dead body, just as I'm sealing them off again. Right, so is someone going to come and dig that channel, I wonder? Not imminently, it looks like. Maybe I should have found someone who's not currently doing anything. Vukar Rigos Meng has just decided to do something in order that I can't turn them into a miner. Because there are always tasks to do in this fortress, to be fair. So yes, the biggest danger turns out not to have been that we would get things. We should stop collecting that. That was not that we would get a load of forgotten beasts coming into the fortress. It's that the dwarves would accidentally fall out of the fortress. I mean, the water level is now quite low down here. And someone will presumably come and finish doing that digging in due course. We've still got a fair number of depressed dwarves. Let's have a quick look at that situation. Many of those are not names I recognise, so let's go and reorganise the Lardy Larks a bit. Like Momuz Avaz Lula is getting quite cheerful, it seems. So Endok, let's just go. Right, we've got the full list of maximally unhappy dwarves here. And say Endok Moot something does not appear on that list. So let's replace them. And Moldath near Mekba is not here, so that goes weird if I do that. So let's stick Moldath near Mekba in there. And Bomrek Lolo Legon. Bomrek. And Id Adsazir is already in the military, so I don't really want to move them. Led Aludusim. They're currently in the waters of Twinkling, but let's move them across to here. Kogan Kibor is already in the military. Bomrek Aranzefon, I've just put, no. Zlolo Logan is already in the military. And Endok Kadol Sarvesh. Let's leave the ones that are currently military there for now. If they don't get better soonish, we might have to try a bit harder. Is this our new miner? Got themselves a steel pick, but as yet, no mining skill at all.
That can't possibly go wrong. No, wait.
Well, there's not so much water down there now. It's a bit safer than it was.
Yeah, it was mostly meaning like putting a pick through one's own foot. Sort of problem.
So this will be a fairly slow process. Oh, that one didn't need to the dwarf to even descend into the hole, so that was relatively safe. This one does need them to descend into the hole, so it is a bit more dangerous. Because, of course, the hole slowly fills up with water. And then it all gushes out when they break through the wall. And as a slow miner, there's going to be more water in here. Right, got out safely. Good, well done. Right, let us abolish that grates stockpile. Be a bit careful constructing the grate. Right, I think we now have adequate drainage from that farm area, as we can see by the water pouring down into the caverns. And it only killed 2 dwarves getting that in place, which is 2 more than I would have liked. Alright, someone has just killed another agitated giant fly. I think that horse skeleton is probably not going to have anything useful happen to it. Let's dump it. Butchery is still ongoing. Just dump at least whole goblin skeletons, because we definitely don't have a use for those. And indeed whole giant blind cave ogre skeletons. Oh dear. What? Where? How have you drowned? Possibly you drowned quite some time ago. Uvash Kilrodotad. No, that does seem like a fairly fresh corpse. Were you dodging something and you couldn't swim, you stoat? Well, we'll see if we can get your corpse out of the river. Drain E should do the trick. No, we're going to get that corpse out before they turn into a whimsical ghost, I'm afraid. On the other hand, we should sort out memorials to the two dwarves who fell into the caverns, shouldn't we? So that's Mistem Emen Zephon and Rigoth Idokiton. Let's arrange that Shift F8 takes us down here, because I will forget those names. Okay, I can't engrave those yet because I think we don't know they're missing yet. Seb says, if they fall into the caverns and died, might they haunt you back up at fortress level? Or do they just haunt the caverns? Well, if the recent ghost was anything to go by, they'll be prone to haunting where they died, which is quite a long way away. But I'm not sure I would trust that they will only haunt down there. So I think I want to memorialise them just in case. Right, I think we've got the dead dwarf out of the river.
So I think we've established that ghosts are scarier than we thought.
Well, I mean, mostly they're only slightly upsetting. But they can occasionally do inconvenient things. On which subject we have we've put the floor in that bit of pipe work, so now we can remove that door and replace it with a wall. And then when the sea gets in, it won't flood everything. Wonder if we could try to set up a drain for this little section here. We get some craft out. Let's mark everything in that little cupboard for recovery. Probably actually all of the other cupboards too while we're there. Which will trigger a load more store item tasks. Right. At some point we'll remember. All right. Rigoth Idokiton has been missing for a week. So that should mean we can carve a memorial to them now. And Mr. MN Zephon has been missing for a week. Right, so now they will get memorials and or will be something approximating well. There's a bunch of stuff not being stored. Are we like in an embarrassing shortage of bins situation? It looks like we might be. Like for a long time we had far too many bins because we couldn't get rid of them. Now we might actually be running out. Let's just make a small batch of wooden bins. We're apparently fighting agitated giant albatrosses now. Busy butchering a giant leopard gecko. What's that? Oh, that's just a llama. Mark a few more things for dumping, though. I think the dwarves are still rather busy. Things always need to be moved to other locations. Dear, the stockpile number 1 is getting close. Is getting kind of full again. Quite a lot of the items in here appear to be bags of gypsum plaster. I think I think we have a sensible order for making them such that we have stopped now. Yes, good. Yes, we did end up with slightly too many for a while. So is someone working on that immobilisation, for instance? No, right. And there's also a set bone job that no one is working on. Right, let's add some more bone doctors to the hospital then. Oops, no, I didn't mean to add you as a doctor. I need to add you specifically as a bone doctor. Right. Don't quite know who's responsible for setting things though. Is that an orderly job? It's either going to be either that or bone doctor, I suppose. Seem to have a decent number, but let's add one. Right, okay, applying a cast seems to be a bone doctor job as well, right. Seems to be a pending tanner hide job. We want those to happen. Is tanning like something I've made specialised? Yes. Oh, and no one is doing it. Right. Well, let's apply at least our 2 people who actually have tanning skill to it. Then maybe it will start getting done. Maybe. Right. I collected some llama wool cloth. Why have you collected it from there? Like, there should be cloth in the hospital. It's part of like how the hospital is meant to be organised. You just changed your mind about what route you're taking. That's not sensible. So it also needs a bucket of water and plaster and cloth. Satisfied at work. Now let's clean up the blood from the hospital. Or maybe somewhere else. Why are you wandering all the way over here to do some cleaning? Where are you going to do this cleaning? How do you know this cleaning needs doing? Are you quite certain you're not just walking around in circles now?
How come this person's emotions tab at the bottom says she doesn't feel anything when joining the existing conflict in the present tense, and another of those messages just appeared?
Yes. I don't know.
Fighting dirt.
Don't think so. I mean, I think that there may be like when there's a fight going on nearby, but there aren't many fights going on at the moment. We've only got 2 of them there, or 1 of them there. That's someone fighting a giant albatross. So I'm a bit uncertain about that. Anyway, let's have a quick look at... So the person who was there at least has been healed. You still need... All right, you've at least got yours set. Someone is carving a new memorial. All right, I think that one needs... You need more diagnosis first to check whether that's the right thing to do you? Diagnosis required, right, okay. So let's just have a look at that. Going to need a make rock slab job in there, I think, in order to ensure that there are enough slabs around. But like, we're not expecting the any actual ghosts from this unless we're very unlucky. Just seems polite to memorialise people who might expect we have lost, that we won't be able to, whose bodies we won't be able to recover. Oh, the salty inks can now be dismissed, can't they? Because we don't need them guarding the holes that might turn out to have forgotten beasts at the bottom of them. How are you doing? Right. I think we know what to do with your leg. Just needs to happen. So we're still making caskets and barrels as well as bins. How are we off for wood? We've got a decent stock for now. That's good. Let's see if we can start dealing with more of these traps. Oh, have we still got metal items that we're melting? So if we haven't, then I should mark more things for melting. Now it looks like there are still plenty. Yes. Is still a butchery task there, which presumably means that something in here is actually butcherable. Clearly they aren't all. Random exoskeletons of thripses are definitely not butcherable, neither is cartilage. Right, yes, so you're busy butchering an ordinary wombat's right front paw. I'm slightly surprised that's got enough meat on it, but scale can't be used. Not sure whether a hamster toe is going to be a problem. Apparently so. Like, this is the kind of area where I might actually expect Dwarf Fortress to be accurate. Probably can't do anything with those peregrine corpses, but we'll worry about them in a bit. I suggest there's some fairly serious fighting going on somewhere. Oh yes, huge scattering of dead giant albatrosses and a few other creatures, and a few dead dogs as well.
Well, I tried to look up how many toes a hamster has, but I got distracted by the fact that Wikipedia has a page on hamster racing. Professional hamster racing.
Okay, I think the fact that there is no automatic butchery task turning up here indicates that probably everything in there is something we can't butcher. I mean, one of them is a bag of turnip seeds, so that's definitely something we can't butcher. So let's mark it all for dumping, well, apart from the turnip seeds. Okay, I have to do that like this because every seed inside that bag has also been marked for dumping. Right. Oh yes, we were going to build a hurling things into the sea machine, mostly for the purposes of hurling goblins into the sea, weren't we? So the idea was that we would have like an accelerator for down which you would launch a minecart, in which you would have put a cage containing a goblin, and then the minecart would be stopped at the bottom of the hill and the goblin would sail out over the sea. Or possibly, even more ideally, the goblin would somehow get decaged on the way. We are also going to build a scenic roller coaster. Yes, we haven't got very much of that built yet. So we should possibly do some of that as well. Right, we've successfully dismantled that weapon trap, so let's replace it with a cage trap. As part of the Keskalokil move towards less lethal defences, well, less immediately lethal defences. Largely because it seems, largely not so much because we want to avoid killing goblins as we want to avoid killing local wildlife if we could tame it instead. Someone is attempting to haul an giant albatross corpse down to our stockpile. How are we doing about those bins? All right, that's still pending. Do we have a manager? I think we have a manager. I think the manager hasn't fallen into the pit, into a pit. Yes. They are also the mayor. And they may quite be currently a bit grumpy that we haven't made enough cages. Let's make some copper cages. Which, of course, will only happen if the mayor, schedules it. What is the mayor doing then? Drinking. Well, that's a good move. Oh good, more butchery is going on. We are taking apart probably a beak dog skeleton, yes. Because obviously we need more bones.
Okay, apparently hamsters have 5 toes on their back feet and 4 toes on their front feet.
Right. Simon has confirmed that 5th toe rear foot is perfectly acceptable for a hamster. Oh, salty Kitcross Dalzat has been found dead. Do we have a record of how they died? Yes. It involved a giant albatross, maybe? Maybe. Yes. There's a giant albatross there inside the fortress. Let us ask Spatter the Lyrical Seas of Turmoil to do something about it. Please. Well, someone has turned up enthusiastically They look like they might not actually know how to use a weapon. Oh no, skilled fighter and adequate swords dwarf. Just more skilled at things that aren't using weapons. So how's our expectation is that this giant albatross is like actually going to end up fighting something. Everyone appears to be weirdly airborne. What is happening to you? Right, yes, you have indeed somehow got hurled through the air. It would be nice if clicking on this button did something the first time I did it, rather than only the second. Right, there we go, that was effective. So after kicking the albatross initially, then stabbed it in the leg and then in a wing, and then removed its head. That was fairly effective for someone who doesn't really know how to use a sword. I mean, the fact that it was so few hits means they won't have got much training from that, but a cat has found a new owner. Oh dear, we ended up in a minor mess with that cage trap. Let's see if we can finish constructing it now. Meanwhile, let's demolish the next weapon trap. What are we currently butchering? Ah, we are finally getting around to butchering a giant albatross, so we'll get to see how much meat we get off a giant albatross. Not that we're short of that either. Yes, sorry about the lack of empty food storage items. Right, that was a fairly rapid demolition of that that weapon trap. Are you any good at butchery, you person who's doing the butchering? Up to competent. That's nice. Oh, I think they've just finished. 20 meat, 14 fat. A decent selection of other items, some of which we should immediately dispose of. And there's a giant albatross skull we can carve into a totem. Meanwhile, we'll do another one. Right, this is all going quite pleasantly, if a little bit slowly. Someone else is in hospital, presumably having had an encounter with a giant albatross. You managed, despite being armed, to get hurt by a giant albatross? Okay, you might have got bitten a bit, maybe. What do your injuries look like then? Oh, that does look fairly messy, yes. Still, you just need a dressing now, so it shouldn't take too long. Right, our number of unhappy dwarves is going down slowly. Only one of them's a child now. We still need to clean up some of the random shoes that are down here. But I think mostly what's needed for that is more storage space. Which means we need to make some bins, which means the manager needs to approve making some bins. Which possibly means they need not to be continuously engaged in meetings. Oh dear, that's rather a lot of miasma. We should probably work out where that's coming from. Looks like it's in here somewhere. Oh yes, that giant hamster corpse has not been removed properly. Which is probably simply because there isn't space to put it in the dead things stockpile at the moment. Maybe we should make that stockpile bigger. Right there. That might now get that giant hamster corpse removed. No. Well, let's mark it for dumping then. We can do without the bones. We don't want it stinking up the fortress. Dear. Still got giant albatrosses around. Possibly, given the size of some of these animals, we might want to start equipping the butcher's shop corpse stockpile with wheelbarrows, just for extra speed of moving dead animals to it. I think in general peregrines are not butcherable. They are too small. Aha, the bin jobs have finally started being scheduled, which might mean we can make enough space in the clothing stockpile to store some of the stuff that the Vukar Rigothmeng has been found dead shortly after. Excuse me, Kib Nish Zuden, did you just shoot him? Or not?
Yeah, we don't believe that a peregrine falcon is too small to butcher. On the grounds that chickens, indeed much smaller birds than chickens, are
Yes.
reasonably used as food, guinea fowl and the like.
Okay, is this someone who's just managed to have an unfortunate accident with a weapon trap?
I was also suspicious there of something being made of nautilus leather. I think nautiluses have shells.
They do definitely have shells. We have shells around, but it appears they may also have skin. Right. You got struck. You also got struck by a crossbow. But mostly you got repeatedly shot. Like, there aren't weapon traps on this level. I'm pretty sure of that. So what happened to Vukar Rigothmeng? They got shot in the head in about the same location. Actually, can we find... There's Vukar Rigothmeng's corpse. Oh God, did they not actually get shot? What they actually did was we dismantled... Oh! We dismantled the weapon trap, and I think some of the parts of that weapon trap ended up on the floor hatch that's the entrance to the fortress. I think Vukar Rigothmeng came up through that floor hatch, and on opening the floor hatch, some of the crossbow bolts fell on their head, fatally. Presumably the pointy end of the crossbow bolt hit them. And went straight through their hood, and indeed their skull.
The floor hatch accident investigation board.
Yes. Like that was quite spectacular. I think there is now a severely injured child on their way to the hospital. Probably. Let's find the child. Kibnish Zuden. They're not moving, which is unhelpful. Oh, someone's coming to rescue them. Good. Owing to her having got horribly injured by someone dropping a bunch of crossbow bolts on her. Which seems... Oh dear, when I say horribly injured, I mean didn't actually survive the journey back to the hospital. Bled to death en route. And so will now need to be buried as well, down to population 89. Owing to, it turns out, an accident with the front door. Anyway, let's install a cage trap, which is less dangerous. Yes, we have been, but I did turn down. Steph mentions that we've got rather less populous. I did deliberately turn down the population cap so that we wouldn't start getting immigrants again until we were below 100, because things were getting quite sluggish. They're still quite sluggish, to be fair. But yes, we have the various invasions, floods, giant flies, etc., have not been entirely good for our population numbers. Actually, the dwarves seem to be being very bad at having children as well. Like, we haven't had any births for ages. And I don't think those should be being inhibited by the population cap. I think the population cap should only be applying to immigration. Now that I've made this stockpile a bit bigger, people are hauling an awful lot of corpses to it. Let's mark a few more obviously dumpable objects for dumping. We have another giant albatross problem. At least that one appears to be, oh, it's probably that one. Airborne. Right, the mayor should now be less pissed off. Good. I think these guys are just like having defeated a giant albatross are now just getting slightly more of their activities logged than is really useful. I mean, I assume a giant hamster tooth is not actually worth keeping around for butchery, but I suppose while the stockpile is not completely full of unbutcherable things, it doesn't really matter. I'm wondering if we need to get more dwarves involved in butchery just in order to get this ludicrous oversupply of parts down. But then we'll just have a load of bones and meat that we have to deal with. Like, we already have far too much meat. Right, so what's going on with... Have we managed to get adequate binnage out here? Not yet, really. Which is, I think, part of the requirements for getting the remaining articles out from here. Though they do receive, like, are those owned by anyone? No. So that suggests we also need more storage for bracelets. Oh, have you just picked something up? Yes, you found an exceptional item in that pile. So, yes, we're still mostly waiting to have enough bins, at least for some purposes. What are you doing? Hey, why are you heading so far south? Oh, you found something you want to put in a stockpile, have you? Why are you heading... Oh, alright, you've been taken by a fey mood. That's what that exclamation mark's about. Good. Wonder what you're storing. Oh, is it this giant fly skeleton? Or chitin? Might actually be that item is not worth keeping. Like, it's rotten, and once it's finished rotting, it will turn into chitin, which is not valuable. Let's tag that for dumping immediately. So, it's probably a bit extravagant to dump it, but whatever. I think I just saw some animals fleeing, which suggests there's some trouble going on. Oh, what are those? Oh dear, agitated giant Kias. They've killed one of our rabbits. I think the giant Kias are now fairly comprehensively dead, though. So, is our mechanics workshop down here? Right. It's Momo's Avazlula, who is like our fairly unhappy dwarf.
Making the building, does that mean strange mood?
Yes. Right. Let's unforbid that sock for no very good reason. Giant Kias are still around. Admittedly getting into fights with the other local wildlife, which isn't really a problem. We do have 3 giant Kia corpses there waiting, processing, but given the number of other things that need to be butchered, no one is currently engaging in butchery. Do we need to assign another person to that task? I think we've already assigned everyone with any skill to it. Oh, right, we only have one person scheduled for doing butchery at all at the moment, right? Let's randomly scroll down this list and put a few more people onto it. Maybe someone who isn't currently doing military work. There, right. That should help, though they won't be any good at it initially. They will learn. Yeah, I think if we're going to have weapon traps, possibly we should have an ammo stockpile near each weapon trap. simply to make reloading them faster. I do intend to eventually remove those weapon traps, but that will itself take a little while. I think we just successfully killed another giant Kia. I think given the backlog of butchery here, I'm going to build a second butcher's workshop. Yes, not just paralysing Kia butchering, paralysing butchering or everything, because there are far too many things that need it. Like we've still got plenty of skeletons left over from the last goblin invasion. I'm not even sure that two butcher's workshops will be enough. Alright, yes, there's a giant Kia actually in a fight. Well, recently in a fight. Okay, and it's now been dealt with. Steph says, can you render them down into soup or glue? Not quite either of those, but we do make... actually, I think soup might be an option. But we do like butcher them and then roast them and turn them into leather and bones that we can carve bracelets out of and that kind of thing. So there is a little bit of like how many giant hamster bone bracelets do you need? Dwarves would prefer not to make bracelets out of goblin bones. I think they consider it a bit unethical to make trophies out of your enemies. So all being well, this butcher's shop should also gain shortly, possibly even now, a butcher an animal task. Right, it's the same distance from the stockpile as the other one. Oh, that's why that cage trap isn't being built. Why is no new butchery task being scheduled in this nice new butcher's workshop, eh? I'm a bit concerned that this hasn't turned into an actual task yet, but on the other hand, there isn't someone stuck in there, so it looks good. One was Avos Lular. Oh right, you're hauling a native platinum gizzard stone down from the former butcher's workshop. Then there's just like, oh, here's a random giant leopard gecko corpse. See, that's what a falling crossbow bolt should do. It should have no force because it's only falling. Good night. Right, have you got everything now? Yes, good. So we're probably going to get another artifact mechanism made out of limonite and apricot wood and alpaca wool and porcelain and native platinum, maybe. Don't even know how you put porcelain into a mechanism, but whatever. Yeah, that should be allowing more bins in there. Maybe the bins are just being claimed by stockpile 1 instead. Why is that stockpile still in existence? That should have been removed. Oh, good. That butcher's shop is now active. Now this one's inactive. Is it really something weird, like you can only actually have one butchery task going on? Let's try adding a task. One automatic butchery task. It would seem weird. There's another dead rabbit. Not sure if that's what kind of creature that's the head of. Just allow a small amount of extra stuff to be moved around. Right, so we now have a ring of cage traps around our fortress entrance instead of a ring of weapon traps, which should, among other things, make us less likely to drop things on the on dwarves' heads. Let's now... Actually, I'm kind of tempted to keep the weapon traps here, but put cage traps kind of outside them, so that the wildlife is more prone to running into the cage traps. But we still have the weapon traps as backups. Because, of course, a cage trap can only deal with one creature, which is the kind... We don't get large numbers of wildlife turning up all at once. But we do get large numbers of goblins, and so the critical thing is that the goblins should be sliced up by the by the weapon traps. But we are quite happy for the... but we would prefer the wildlife to end up in the cage trap so that we can tame them. That's like the hope anyway. Just unforbidding a few more things so they can be taken downstairs. Right. So many objects waiting to be dumped. So many bins needed. Oh yes, how are we doing for those memorials? Right, the first one exists. Let's get that placed. Obviously it should go close to where they died. Well, okay, close to where they fell through the floor and eventually died, somewhat distance away. All right, yes, we can't plant rock nuts in the winter. Is that another fight? I can't see it. Slightly concerned about this not automatically getting okay, I think that's probably going to be fairly fatal. Not automatically getting those butchery tasks scheduled on both butcher shops. Oh, you're claiming your limonite mechanism as a family heirloom, are you? Okay. I mean, we might find a use for it. Yeah. Look, we have a fairly continuous population in our hospital, don't we? You should do with getting some food as well. Anyway, so nothing very exciting is happening at the moment. We've got a new artifact limonite mechanism, and we're still cleaning up after that last visit from the goblins. In part, of course, because the local wildlife keeps being annoying. But oh yes, let's quickly schedule that. Let's finally close off. This is a bedroom wall. It should be done in porcelain. The hole that the sea gets in through. Because otherwise, if someone does open it, it will immediately flood quite a bit of high parts of the fortress, at least briefly. So yes, it is all a bit like there is far too much tidying up to do here. Like there's our list of dump item jobs, and our list of the store item in stockpile jobs are only slightly scary. But yeah. And everywhere I look, there are corpses of bits of local wildlife. And I'm trying to reduce the rate at which we kill the local wildlife, but here's someone cleaning up the blood at least. That's good. Right, well, let us then leave this for tonight because it's getting late, and we will come back and do something more, maybe do something more useful with it on Friday. So until then, I will say, hang on, I'll press this button first, save and return to title menu, and then I will say good night. Good night.